detail, but it's the kind of thing that um, like only somebody who's really close to somebody else would even think of.
Exactly. Bill
And,
in particular, why would Bill care what kind of shirt? I mean, I bet he doesn't care what Ellie's wearing.
right, exactly, yeah,
Yeah, or Joel. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also like I mean, it's also like the way um it's like the guy who plays Bill is W. Earl Brown, I think,
Mhm.
who also plays or played Dan Doherty on Deadwood,
Mhm.
and he was fantastic in that role. Like whenever I see him, like he's always been great.
Mhm.
And I think that's also like a really good piece of casting because like he just really conveys so much in his tone of voice.
Right.
When he's like just like talks about the shirt, and you can almost hear this argument that has been going on for
Right.
like probably like a couple of years, like about how those shitty shirts like
Yeah.
piss him off for no reason whatsoever. And Bill is the kind of person who will keep on bringing it up too. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That one line reveals not only both of their characters, right, but their entire
yeah,
relationship is summed up. It's brilliant writing, you guys. Seriously.
yeah. It's a pretty amazing moment, and I feel like um like just in terms of Bill's character too, like at that point, like when he gives them the car, all of a sudden it's like he just kind of goes into like this efficiency mode
Mhm.
from that point on. But his tone is also kind of like softer. Like it's
Yeah.
all like he's kind of resigned to his fate. I mean, I think before this, like, he could have been thinking about like, oh, like maybe I don't have to be alone all my life.
Right.
Like maybe Frank is gonna come back. Like something
Yeah.
with Frank. I don't know what it is, but like there's still like some kind of hope. And at
Mhm.
that point, it's like there's no hope. And also, I mean, for somebody like Bill in a world like this, like what are the odds that he's ever going to find anybody else who's going to tolerate him even a little bit?
Right.
He's just. I mean, like he's. I'm sure he's a great protector.
Right.
But that's probably like that's not enough for people to actually want. I mean, even this person who presumably at some point was in love with him
Right.
or at least had like some affection for Bill,
Uh-huh.
just can't take him.
Yeah.
Like he'd rather like risk certain death than stay in this really like a pretty safe area.
Right.
Bill's got the whole place like booby trapped, and he's kind of in control of the entire town, and it's like the safest place you could possibly be, really. And
Uh-huh.
and he'd rather just like risk it on the road than just like stay one more day with this control freak asshole. And it's just, I mean, it's the kind of thing that I don't know, like it just feels like such a human thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and yeah. The next scene,
To
uh,
lighten things up a little bit.
yeah. This is kind of on the other end of the spectrum because, like
Yeah.
that's not really dark stuff, but this is one of the more like cheerful things we see in The Last of Us,
Yeah.
and just hit play now. So I'm gonna talk on top of this a little bit. So here we have this whole thing where Ellie spots something kind of amazing, and you just kind of like race through these rooms to figure out like what's going on, like what is the amazing thing. And you get like first of all like these beautiful environments that really look fantastic. Like everything in this game is so evocative and it looks so real and impressive. Like this whole concept of like nature claiming architecture is something that I find really interesting and satisfying in general. But then you get this moment with the giraffes that have like escaped from the zoo, and it's just this, I don't know, moment of sense of wonder.
Yeah.
Let's just hear this.
Come here. Come here. Hurry up. Come on.
Hey there. So fucking cool. Aw, where's it off to? Here, come on, let's go.
Slow down, kiddo.
Come on. Hurry up, come on, come on, come
So, is everything you were hoping for?
It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view, though.
So yeah, that whole thing is such a just like this moment of magic really in the middle of, I don't know, all this horror.
Oh, I mean,
And
it's exactly that. Yeah.
and it's such a beautiful little thing, and they executed that really well. So you kind of get this like close moment with the giraffe, and then you see the herd kind of in the distance,
Hmm.
and it's just, I don't like there's also this overall idea that that gets kind of communicated there, that whether or not humans survive, like doesn't, like the planet doesn't give a crap.
Right.
uh,
Hmm.
and that's there's like a certain joy in that, I guess.
Right.
uh, I mean, it doesn't, may not seem like that optimistic, obviously,
Hmm.
but kind of like in terms of contrast, like that's really clever. And again, like that's also a question of commitment, because
Hmm.
like they built these giraffes, like this close up of a giraffe's face just for this one scene.
Right.
Like like you don't really like it's not like the kind of thing where usually it's the kind of thing where if you put a dog in a game, like then the whole game is gonna have a whole bunch of dogs all the time.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Exactly, because like you spend time animating the asset, then you want to get as much use of it, so more
Hmm.
bang for your buck.
Right.
And this is something that they created pretty much just for this one moment,
Right.
and that is really significant. Like the payoff is enormous.
Right.
And there's in game development, a lot of times you see a lot of this thinking where it's like if you make branching content, for example, or if you put in optional content that not everybody's going to see for whatever reason,
Uh-huh.
quite often people just kind of approach that as a like a sort of like a game where they try to maximize the impact of the work. So if you
Right.
go like, oh, like only 30% of players are going to see this thing, it's not really worthwhile to put it in.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of get that logic, obviously, because
Mhm.
like production realities and everything. But at the same time, if you kind of take that kind of thing into its logical conclusion, you're never going to have a giraffe moment in your game.
It's
And
true.
just, yeah, and just the fact that Naughty Dog, is willing to make that kind of commitment just to have this moment,
Hmm.
like that kind of like proves how seriously they take the storytelling.
Right.
Because I mean that's a hard sell, internally. Like you just really have to say like, no, like yeah, we should absolutely rig giraffes so
Uh-huh.
we can do like this one scene, and that's that I'm sure that's not an easy conversation to have. And I mean, I don't know how much stuff they had to leave on the cutting room floor.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. Like, you don't know if they had anything else planned or not. But I think you're right. I don't think they did. I think they recognized the value of having that rarity, of having that one-off thing that makes a scene absolutely unique and special, because that's what lends it its magic, right? If you see that giraffe again, like every 10 scenes, it's just, it loses its impact.
Yeah, you want to have the contrast, and you want to have you want to have this moment that feels totally different.
It's,
And one other thing that I really want to mention here is too is like one of the things I love about The Last of Us is how sort of reserved its soundtrack is. Like most of the time, it's just like a little bit of guitar in the background.
right.
There's some stuff that's more like sort of action musicy, obviously in certain scenes, but a lot of time it's just like this lonely guitar kind of ringing out a little bit, kind of going through like these devastated environments, and it's really evocative and just it gives the game an atmosphere that no other game really has. Even and there's like a lot of post-apocalyptic games,
Right.
but most of them don't feel like this one at all.
It's true.
Um, and it's super interesting. Anyway, let's hop over to the next one. You have that queued up?
It's all ready to go.
Okay, so go.
What do you want me to do? What? Oh man. Joel?
I'm gonna need you to pull.
Okay. Wait, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Let's get to the damn horse.
So yeah, this whole thing is obviously pretty painful to watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like good time. It's what I'm now thinking of as the Tomb Raider moment. Actually, kind of interestingly enough,
Oh, yeah.
they have a similar thing there.
Uh-huh.
Except she has to do it all by herself because there's nobody else around, which is seriously not a good time. But
Yeah.
but this is an interesting scene because you have a lot of the same gameplay as before. You're kind of walking around this area and you know you're fighting these guys, and but now it's totally different because you have been playing as this very competent guy. I mean, Joel is decidedly human. Like he's not doing a lot of superhuman stuff in the game, especially not by game standards. But he's very competent, and you know he's got like this huge body count and stuff. But at the same time, now you're still controlling this character, but now you are just crawling most of the time. Like you can do a bit of shooting and stuff like that, but all of a sudden like you are like you know almost completely helpless,
Mhm.
and you know this other character that you have been protecting the entire game up until this point, this daughter substitute for you, uh, is suddenly the one who is protecting you, and that's not something you really see in games. Like in games in general, like we are not very willing to um, take away the player's control or power. Like
Mhm.
that's generally considered to be bad game design, and they kind of like pretty boldly just go for that whole thing here, where you know they even take away your ability to move in the game to
Uh-huh.
a extent, and it also kind of illustrates just like how different Ellie is from like Sarah, because
Mhm.
there's no way that Sarah would be dealing well with any of this stuff if you know
Right.
she had been at this point because she is from a totally different world.
Uh-huh.
Whereas for Ellie, like she understands the need for survival.
Mhm.
You know, like when like Joel is falling down, like she's just like, no, you gotta fucking walk.
Right.
You know, like she just you know like she's not sentimental about any of this stuff. And there's also the whole thing here where she's you know like she's got a gun and she's actually fighting these people, and I mean she's still a young girl. Like she's what is she like 13, 14 here,
Right. Mhm.
and like certainly you know not somebody who you know you go against like these you know grown ups who are heavily armed and have a lot of experience, and she's still holding her own and rescuing Joel's ass at the same time, and that you know like that just kind of flips the dynamic completely, and I think that's really interesting.
Mhm.
That's something that really you know you don't see a lot of stuff like that in the game, especially because you're kind of seeing the NPC do all the cool stuff here,
Right.
which is also kind of a bit of a bit of a no-no traditionally. Like if somebody does something cool, you